For you to get reach beyond the people that you normally talk to, you have to do something different. And most people aren't doing that.
Welcome to Pipelineology, the business-to-business podcast for agencies, consultants, coaches, and businesses looking to build a pipeline of hot prospects ready to buy their products and services. Never wonder where your next client is coming from. To learn more about our strategies, services, and for resources on building your sales pipeline, visit pipelineology.com. Now, on to the show.
Hello, everybody. This is Gary Rublinger, and welcome to another episode of Pipelineology. Today, I am pleased to be joined by Graham Coath in the United Kingdom. Graham, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for asking me, Gary. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm looking forward to this one. I know we're going to be talking about a topic that I think a lot of people want to learn more about, and that is getting more content and engagement on LinkedIn. So before we jump into that, though, for anybody who's not familiar with you, could you share just a little bit about your background, your story, how you got here?
Oh, it's an interesting background. I started life in radio many moons ago. I did a diploma in broadcast journalism at the same time as I did my degree in communication studies. So I've always been interested in how we communicate, and I've always been interested in language. I've always had a fascination with writing as well, which is something that I've continued to do. But I was drawn to radio as a means of communication because we did a little bit about it on our degree course, but I wanted to take it a little bit further because the magic of radio, which I think is coming back slightly, not just in radio, but actually in podcasting as well, is that you draw into people's imaginations, but also it's a medium whereby people can be doing something else at the same time as digesting. And that's the beauty of podcasts. And that's why podcasts are starting to grow again, is because you can be sat on a bus or you can be doing a little bit of work, but you can listen to this podcast at the same time. You can't do that in the same way with TV or video, etc. So for me, radio was great. It was also very creative as well, because you can, as I say, you can bend people's imaginations. And I used to write radio comedy where we had people escaping out of milk bottles and playing Spanish guitar at the same time as juggling 5 filing cabinets, because all of these things are possible on radio. So I did radio for a while, and then I went into sales as well. And I had a tenure in sales, which led to going into an area of workplace adjustment. So it's a very, very weird and varied career, but there is a link between the whole thing. And the link is being able to listen to people. So to be a good journalist, you have to be able to listen to people. It's not all about what you say, it's about what you hear and the questions that you ask. When it comes to sales, that's about the same thing. Reading people, signals, asking the right questions to get the right answers. When it comes to workplace adjustments and assessments, and helping people in that way, it's all the same thing. It's all about talking to people, asking the right questions and listening. And now with what I'm doing now, which is this combination of social media engagement and marketing and online events and podcasting and all of these things as well. Again, it's all about, my style is very much interview based, like you're doing with me now. And it's all about teasing out the conversation from people. So I've spent my life starting and initiating conversations. There you go.
All right. Starting and initiating conversations. So I guess that probably leads right into the next part then. As far as LinkedIn goes,
yeah,
how does somebody take that approach to the LinkedIn platform?
Firstly, I'd like to say I love the LinkedIn platform because it has changed. And it's changed, in my mind, for the better. I mean, it's difficult for some people, I think, to accept that it's not the type of business platform that it was some time ago. And I was an early adopter of LinkedIn a long time ago as well. And I must admit, initially I sort of went to it and then gave up on it because it was a little bit too staid. But where it's developing to now and where it's at the moment is it's a platform of people who are business people who, yes, they want to deliver a message about what it is that they're doing so that more people buy from them or use them for the services or products that they offer. But it's a community of people that want to learn from each other in general. There are some idiots, like there are on any social media platform, but in general, there's an intelligent bunch of people who want to learn, and they want to learn across different sectors, and they want to learn across different areas, and they are willing to join in that conversation. So there's your starting point with LinkedIn, is don't turn up and expect to sell on the platform, because it's just not going to work. It's a platform that needs you to put some energy into it. It's a platform that needs you to put something of yourself into it. And if you want people to form relationships with you, which will ultimately lead to them working with you, then it's about showing people exactly what you're made of, but in a very true and real way as well. I think you can't force it. You can't be something you're not on LinkedIn, otherwise people will know. So it's about turning up, creating content that interests you first and foremost, and you'll find your own audience, and then finding people that are similar to you or have the same interests as you or have interests that you want to get to know more about and haven't yet, and reading and taking your time to learn from them in terms of where those conversations are going. And when you feel confident enough, join in those conversations.
So it's first finding your voice and then finding your community and joining in the conversation.
I think it happens organically at the same time. I think you need to find the mechanism that works for you. And that mechanism will be different for different people. It might be that but you have to be consistent with that as well. And that's the thing. So one of my things is that I turn up every morning and I do a poll. Every morning. Every single morning I turn up and I do a poll. And some of those polls, like one last week, has had near on 30,000 views. Now, it's just about being consistent. So there are mornings when I wake up and at 6:30 in the morning, I think, do I really want to do a poll this morning? But I make myself do a poll every morning at 6:30. And the reason being is because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give the group of people that now expect me to do those polls the content to talk around. I have a particular approach to it, which is that I take it from a journalistic perspective. I try and, again, use the poll to initiate a conversation between a group of people. And then out of that, I find some really interesting people who are organically connect to me and follow me within my network. And then we can then talk about other things, either through their content or through my content. But that's, for me, that's just one way of having a mechanism that I follow every day. For other people, it may be that they tell a joke. For other people, it may be that they share a thought of the day. For other people, it may be that they share a particular kind of post that's always framed in the same way every single time that they post on a daily basis. But just find your little groove there and be consistent with it.
So it's really a matter of showing up day in and day out to kind of build on the platform.
Yeah, it is. And as I say, it's as important to comment on other people's posts and to engage with other people's posts as it is to put your own content out. I mean, for me, actually, I find it difficult some days to write a post or do a poll, but actually it doesn't take me that long to kick myself out of it when on days that I don't want to do it. But, you know, I guess even if there are days where it's harder for you to think of something to post, and I've worked with other people as well. I've coached other people through LinkedIn, you know, and with some of them where they said, oh, I just don't know what to post about today. There's a couple of things that I've done with them. One is to have some standby posts that you've pre-written, put away in a little area. There's some bits of software that you can use for storing posts prior to putting them out, which are quite useful. But just have some bits and pieces, if not put away. Or if you just can't think of anything else to come up with that day, no new content of your own, just go and read other people's posts and comment on the posts that you like. But just don't not do anything, because that won't work.
So if somebody's kind of getting started here, how long do you kind of find it takes? And I'm sure this really varies pretty wildly between, you know, the person and what they're doing, but how long does it take to get traction and start growing that following, growing that audience on LinkedIn?
Well, it depends what you want out of it, I suppose. You know, or what you see your goals as. You will see if you haven't been doing anything and you get the basics right from not getting it right. So you've done your LinkedIn banner, you've created a call to action, you've rewritten your about me so that it actually draws people in. You've looked through your profile to make sure that it's short, sharp, snappy, and tells people what it is that you're about, rather than, you know, it's war and peace. If you've you know, had any recommendations from people and you've made sure that those recommendations have come through and they're on your LinkedIn profile, so you've done all of the basics, and you just haven't then been posting, or you haven't been doing any content, then starting from scratch, it's going to take you a little while. One of the things is as well, don't be scared to connect to people as well. I found that a lot of people are sort of worried about connecting to people they don't know. But the reality is that, you know, if you're trying to network for business, you're going to have to meet people you don't know. Because the people that you're already doing business with, you do know them. Yeah. And the people that you want to do business with, you don't know. So you're going to have to press that connect button and make some new friends out there. And the thing that I always say to people about that is that ultimately, at the end of the day, if once you've connected to them, that person turns out to be a lame Larry and you don't really want to be their friend anymore, you can always block and move on. So, you know, you've got nothing to lose by connecting to people. just, look for people. If you look for people through content who have a similar outlook to you, or posting things that are of interest to you, etc., then it's probably unlikely in the majority of cases that person's going to rub you up the wrong way, because you're probably looking for their content first and saying, yeah, do you know what? I like what that person's saying. They seem intelligent to me. They're in the same kind of thought process as me. I'm going to connect with them and just give them a chance. But you've got to grow your network. And then once you start growing your network, just put out material and see how it resonates, and it won't all resonate all the time, and it will take a little while for it to go. But you'd be surprised if you follow those basics, your network will grow fairly quickly, and your retention and engagement rates will go up fairly quickly.
That's great. So how much time should somebody expect to spend each day on the platform to kind of make this work?
Oh, okay. So that's the $1 million question, isn't it? How much time should you spend? That's actually a really difficult thing for me to answer now, because I tend to spend most of my life on LinkedIn. You have to work out how much time you can spare on LinkedIn, and I think it depends what the rest of your day looks like in terms of your role and your job, etc. I'd say as a bare minimum, you need to be thinking about turning up at least twice a day for 20 minutes a day at different times, so that you catch what's going on. And then it really depends where you see this in your process for your job or your business or whatever you're using LinkedIn for. So if LinkedIn is working for you and it's bringing you in business, maybe you need to look and see, are there other marketing efforts that you're doing within your business, etc., that you're spending a lot of time on that aren't. If other marketing efforts bring you in more business than LinkedIn, then maybe you can pare it down a bit. But certainly, I think you have to then gauge it in your overall business plan and your overall marketing plan. The one thing that I would say is that I think some people get too comfortable. And I just think that's a thing that happens with people in business, full stop. I think people get very comfortable if they've suddenly got an amount of business from a set amount of suppliers or customers, etc. And then, the danger is, do you actually spend enough time actually canvassing for the next lot of business? So one of the things you've got to think about there is, if your business needs to grow and you want it to grow at a reasonable pace, is perhaps just setting yourself some goals in terms of, how many good new contacts am I going to get on LinkedIn every month? How much engagement do I need to do that? And, how much time focusing on conversations with people do I need to do to get that level of comeback from that time that I'm spending?
I think that's kind of a great way to look at it. I know internally for us, we went from seeing, at the beginning of this year, very few clients coming from LinkedIn, so not a lot of time was spent on the platform, to now, as we're recording this towards the end of the year, I'd say 75% of our new business is coming from the platform. So it makes it really easy to justify the time spent on the platform. and in fact, spending more and engaging there because that's where the business comes from. So,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's good business. It's good clients. So
Sure. So I'll throw that question the other way around. That's what I like to do. I'm gonna take over. Don't worry. So how much sort of time do you spend on a daily basis, sort of engaging on LinkedIn?
I would say I'm probably on the platform. It's always open in the background. So anytime like somebody messages me, I hear that little ding when it clicks in. As we're talking, like I think I've had 2 or 3 kind of buzz in as we've been doing this interview. So I'd say I'm probably on the platform 2 to 3 hours a day. Perhaps not all at once, a few minutes here, a few minutes there, but throughout the day I'm checking things, I'm replying to messages and checking notifications and kind of all that.
Sure. So yeah, I mean it will vary from day to day. I mean, like today I made a video. So obviously while you're making a video, you can't you can't be on LinkedIn per se. But I will spend some of the other mechanisms that I use the platform as well. So when I'm putting on events, for example, I will not only do posts through LinkedIn on them, but I will set those events up on my business page on LinkedIn, and I will promote them through the business page, and I'll invite people through that. And there's a process that I need to go through where it's quite a lengthy process, but there's a process where I need to go through of actually engaging on a personal level with people who are interested in coming to those events. So, in that way, there are different things that I'm doing on the platform throughout the day. So it's not literally a case of I'm sat there all day long just chatting to people or creating posts. There's other things that I do. I write articles as well. So again, those go onto the platform, but it's in a slightly different area. So when you start to look at it, there are lots of different bits of LinkedIn that you can use for different types of marketing task. And we've now got stories as well, and everyone's trying to work out how you use stories. But so with each of these new little facets that come in, they then generate new opportunities for marketing or engagement in a different way. So yeah, LinkedIn Live. I do LinkedIn Live sessions, which are like mini podcasts, if you like, over video. So those are, again, they need setting up. You need to think about who you're going to talk to. You need to think about the demographic that you're wanting to try and engage with there. But there's always a thought process in terms of, for me, around things like, I'm putting this event on, and the people that I want to attract to this event look like this demographic. So then I'm going to perhaps talk to this person here on a LinkedIn Live, because that's going to attract the kind of people that I want to talk to about this event. And then I will do a series of posts that might lead to that. Even my polls in the morning, some of the polls are just random about, or contemporaneous, which is a great word, around what the news is of the day. But others have elements of them that I'm thinking about market research in a way, about people that might be interested in a particular thing, so that I can then connect with those people and then bring them into other bits and pieces that I'm doing. So there's linking all the way through this activity, but the activity can be very varied.
So you're constantly kind of thinking about what that end goal is and kind of moving people little by little towards that end goal, whether that's to come on an event or attend one of your events or something similar.
Correct. Yeah. There's a journey map in there. There's a pipeline. It just, I hate the word pipeline though, because it's very salesy. There is a journey map and there is a pipeline, but it just feels much more organic than a traditional sales route, because it's as you say, it's much more fun because it's more about finding people, as I say, of a similar or that have a thought process that's going in a particular way, getting alongside them, having a conversation about that, and actually growing with them as well. So it's not, I don't ever believe in everything being about what I already know. In fact, I come at it from the point of view that I know nothing. And actually, and I quite often say on some of my LinkedIn live sessions, I surround myself with people that are far more intelligent than me and far more worthy to be there than me. But that's great because that's what I want to do. I want to learn from other people. And, for me, it's partly the whole thing is part of me educating myself at the same time.
Oh, that's great. So not to go off on too far of a tangent here, but you're the first guest I've had on that's talked about the events on LinkedIn. Could you maybe give kind of your how effective are they in terms of and what is your approach with them? Is it similar to like if somebody was doing a webinar or even a in-person seminar? Do you kind of take that type of approach, or is it a totally different system on the platform?
Okay, so I monetize events, so they're pretty important to me. And it's, for me, the way that I do that is that I have an idea that, as I say, that most people market to a group of people that they believe they should be marketing to. And yet there are distinctly groups and niches of people out there that probably need to hear about other things that they would never in the real world, shall we say, the face-to-face world, they would draw themselves to. So I'll give you a really good example of that because it's probably easier if I give you an example. So I created an event called the Online Ergonomic Network event, which was an event initially just to throw the coals into the fire to see what happened. It was initially an event where we got together some sponsors from the ergonomics community, from some of the manufacturers, etc. And we invited everybody along just to see what would happen with that. And what I found fairly quickly, which didn't surprise me, was that two groups emerged. One was a group of people who want to know about this stuff because they're feeling uncomfortable at home. And then another group of people who are ergonomists, physiotherapists, workplace assessors, everyone involved in the industry who want this opportunity to come together and to learn more. Now, those two groups of people can coexist at an event, but they won't want the same thing out of that event because the one group of people are thought leaders and the other group of people are people approaching this subject for the first time. So what you really end up needing to do, which is what I've done, is we have now a thought leadership event, which is for the group of people that need that thought leadership. And then on the other hand, I suddenly thought, look, where are these groups of people who need to hear this talk about ergonomics and working from home and working healthily? Where are they, and how do we get them together and then bring this message over on top of it? So the first one of those that I did was the VA event. So I noticed that during lockdown and during this whole period, there was a massive growth in the number of virtual assistants that were popping up because people were being made redundant. The VAs already existed and they were getting busier. But people who were being made redundant were getting themselves online. They couldn't physically go out to offices, etc., and they were offering their skill set, and therefore they were basically turning themselves into VAs. So there was a growth in that market area there. And basically what you've got is you've got a group of people who are sitting at home, typing away, doing this, databases for people, CRMs for people, accounts for people, balancing this for people, word processing, proofreading, you name it, the gamut of admin tasks for people at home. And they're working long hours and they're all getting backache. So by generating an event which was for these group of people, which said, you need to network together because there are lessons to be learned in this period from each other. This is a period of change. This is a period of new dawn, if you like, for all of us. But you as a group have to learn from each other in terms of how to evolve within this period. Let's put an event on where you can all get together. And then once I've done that, I can then bring in someone from over here who can talk to you about your back problems that you're all having. And the two fit really well. But in the real world, in that face-to-face engagement world, that would never happen. People from who are VAs would never look in a trade magazine and go, oh, there's an ergonomic event on tomorrow. I'm going to go to that. And people from the ergonomic community wouldn't ever look and go, do you know what? We're going to advertise at a VA event. It wouldn't happen, right? Because people stay within their own niches, right? And they want to do that because it costs a lot of money to go to an event. It costs a lot of money to do these things. But virtually, when we do these things virtually, it costs a fraction of the price to try these things out. And it works, because there's a message there that needs to be spread between the two. And by bringing those people together, you generate something completely different that would never, ever have existed in the face-to-face event community.
That is really cool. Thanks for sharing that example. I think that kind of helps give some idea what the potential of that is.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions I should be asking you about this? I mean, you've shared some really cool examples with us and some great ideas.
No, just to say, it is actually hard work, though. So for anyone that's thinking, hey, I'm going to do that tomorrow, you still got to slog at it, and I think that's an important thing to say, because I think some people think with social media, anything to do with social media, you can just turn up and it will just, click your fingers and it will happen. You have to put the effort in. You have to put the work in. You have to, when I'm doing those events, I have to spend hours and hours having one-to-one conversations, as I say, with people, and, talking to them about what this is about and introducing them to new technologies. I run events in something called Remo, which isn't Zoom. So that's a learning curve for people. We have virtual tables, and you can literally talk to people in small groups, etc. So there's quite a lot of background work that goes into making sure all of these things run really smoothly and run really well. And it's just like proper event organization in the real world. I have to get all of the sponsors. I have to have the conversation with the sponsors. I have to chase the money from the sponsors, etc., etc. To make all of this happen, I have to do all the graphics. So anyone just thinking they can turn up and do it, you can't. But if you're prepared to put the effort in, then there are opportunities there, definitely.
That's great. So I guess if somebody's kind of interested in exploring some of these things further with you, how should they get in touch?
Well, if you're on LinkedIn, the easiest thing to do is either find me, because there's not many Coaths on there. So Graham, Coath is Coath, Coath with an H on the end. Alternatively, you can follow my hashtag, which is hashtag a better way of life. The sort of overriding link between all of the different elements that I do, and there is a website as well, abetterwayoflife.co.uk. But the overriding link between all of the different elements is that I'm fundamentally trying to promote a better way of life for everybody. And therefore, most of the things that I do are things that are connected in one shape or form to health and well-being sector, or have some, semblance to them of helping people live a better life. And that's, that's a really cool thing as well. So the latest event that I'm running, I've got 2 coming up. I've got a freelancers event, which is about helping freelancers to find better quality work with better pay. So really, again, improving their life, etc. Stopping them getting, scammed in terms of work. And the next online ergonomic network event will be centering around mental health as well. And that is an event, it's not just for, as I said earlier, that isn't just an event for ergonomists, etc. So although it's about thought leaders, we want management there. We want people anybody that looks after staff in terms of their well-being, we want those people there so that we can share together and learn collectively together as a group. And out of that will come other opportunities. Out of that will come other splinter groups. So,
well, that's great. Well, I will make sure we put those links in the show notes for anybody who is interested in learning a little bit more about that.
Thank you.
Graham, thanks so much for coming on the show today and sharing all these strategies with us. I really appreciate it. And we'll have to have you on again sometime to share some more of this with people.
Yeah, well, thank you, and I apologise. Your listeners won't know, but I got the time wrong. So sorry about that. You, and this is a lesson to be learned. Don't believe everything when you put it into Google. All right. So I Googled what the time difference was between where you are now. Where exactly are you, by the way?
I'm in Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit in Michigan. So I Googled the time difference between Detroit, Michigan, and not so sunny Somerset in England, and it was an hour wrong. So there you go. And that's important. Check these things before you fly, which you won't be doing at the moment, but next time it does, you can do these things. Make sure that you actually check these things properly.
All right, a public service announcement from Graham Coath, everybody. Check your time zones.
Absolutely. It's important stuff.
Thanks for listening to the Pipelineology podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and look forward to seeing you on the next one. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving us a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.